Hey there, welcome back to Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. We are in the meat bird production barn, but we're actually going to talk about a broody egg layer hen on this video. We appreciate you joining us. Please do subscribe. This that you're looking at there is a group of Cornish Rock cross meat chickens that are almost 4 weeks old, trying to take in a sense of the stocking density in the pen. We have a little over 2 more weeks to grow these birds out, so we're going to keep the feed to them. They're doing really well on eating at the target feed consumption range that we expect for our growing flocks. They are in what we would call the grower phase. We do recognize in our meat birds a starter phase, grower phase, and finish phase, and we just mean that from the standpoint of flock management for our purposes in different feeding practices and different practices that we do with them. So we just mean that as a way to organize and delineate, what are they in the first 2 weeks, the middle 2 weeks, or the final 2 weeks of their production. So that's just something we refer to, I guess, to help us with management. But hey, it's Melissa. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube. I did tell you we are going to talk about a broody egg layer hen. So some of you have watched the just previous video. It was on the Isa Brown egg laying hens, and we had a broody hen in the egg laying pen with them. So we're going to get an update on her today. I think that a meat bird production barn would actually be the very last place I would expect to find a broody hen. And so if you haven't heard the term broody in regards to chickens and hens, broody simply means a hen that is basically showing signs that she's willing to commit to a nest of eggs and she would like to hatch them out. So obviously you would need fertilized eggs for that to work. And so in our egg production barn, there's no guarantee that those eggs are fertilized. It's supposed to be a flock of all hens. Actually, I did mention in that video, we do think there's one rooster, but we're around those hens regularly. I don't see a lot of rooster activity happening in that pen, so there's no guarantee that those eggs are fertilized in that pen anyway, and those eggs are basically always sold. So we need to collect those eggs. We're not interested in having a hen brood those eggs in order to set on them and wait it out and hatch out baby chicks in there. So when we turned up with a broody hen in that hen house, we did have a decision to make, because where she was choosing to sit is a place that about half of those hens like to lay their eggs. So we knew we had to move her out of there for starters, because in there she's not going to hatch out any chicks, because those eggs aren't fertilized as far as we know. And even if we wanted to help her hatch out chicks, A, we would have to get her fertilized eggs, and B, we wouldn't want her hatching them out in a pen of adult chickens when those baby chicks are ready to hatch. So we knew she had to move out of that hen house either way, whether we were going to break the broodiness or whether we were going to try to help her set on a clutch of eggs. So we actually ended up moving her in here to the meat bird production barn, which was probably really not a great move, because these birds, they're not super busy. I recognize that they have a routine of basically a 4-hour cycle, 4-hour rotation of eat, drink, relieve themselves, rest. That's pretty much what they do. But they do tend to stretch a lot, flap their wings a lot. They're chattery. We come in, we move them around. I'll tell you about that sometime. Could probably do a short little video on exercising our broilers. That's actually something that we do. And that goes along with those phases that I mentioned, starter, grower, and finisher. That's something we integrate into those phases. But anyway, we have kind of a busy environment in here, and so it's really not a conducive environment, I realize, for a hen to hatch out eggs. So anyway, I had brought her in here, and we did end up deciding, let's try to get some fertilized eggs. We have a friend who has chickens and is very knowledgeable, and she puts a lot of those fertilized eggs in the incubator, and I think some of her hens, probably hatch them out. But she was very gracious and gave us a little clutch of 6 fertilized eggs. And so we brought them here for Broody Hen. I'm going to show her to you. And put them put them in a corner place for her, and she sat beside them for about half a day. And so I was like, that's not going to work. So we decided, I'll turn this around and you can kind of see what we did. We decided to make like a little fortress out of our chicken crates in here. So she would have a place that she could consider safe and calm and quiet to set on the eggs. So we had some straw here, and my husband took some straw and made a little nest in here, and we made this little fortress of crates, and we put Broody Hen in here, and lo and behold, she sat on them. And so she's actually been sitting on this little clutch of fertilized eggs for about 2 days now. And we've read that broody hens will leave the nest maybe like once a day, you know, to get a bite to eat, a little bit to drink, and relieve themselves. But honestly, we're in and out of here a lot. I haven't seen her leave this nest, so, you know, she seems very committed. Hopefully she doesn't quit on it. So she would have started sitting these eggs about June 8th. So we would expect by June 29th to have these eggs starting to hatch. About 21 days is what I believe chicks need to hatch out of the egg, to develop in the egg and then be ready to hatch out of the egg. So I can show you quietly here. I zoomed in on her a little bit, but so she just has a small area there, and we put a waterer in there for her, and we put a feeder in there for her. We just call her Old Hen. She was rehomed from a relative's house. I think she was the last hen out of flock they had for years, and if I'm right, I'm thinking she's like 8 years old maybe, and she doesn't lay eggs anymore. She is a beautiful Golden Laced Wyandotte, and that Golden Laced Wyandotte breed is an American breed. It's a dual-purpose heritage breed. I believe it was actually accepted by the American Poultry Association in the 1880s. Originally it was accepted as a Silver Laced Wyandotte, and this Golden Laced Wyandotte is one of the color varieties, and I'm sure there are others. Golden Laced Wyandottes, the hens get about 7 pounds. I believe the roosters get maybe 8 or 9 pounds. So she's a large hen. When you see her standing up, you get the full effect of that. So she's probably about a 7-pound hen. They do have the distinctive rose variety comb on top of their head. I can't really get in much closer than that, but they are cold tolerant, not so heat tolerant in high heat, but they tolerate cold well. So these would be really good dual purpose breeds. About 200 brown eggs a year, I believe they're brown eggs that they lay, would probably be considered large eggs. And then this breed could also be used for meat, you know, after it matures and fills out. So, but she's a really beautiful hen. She's friendly. You know, we don't try to hold her or anything, but we never have any problem with her. She's friendly, and she interacts well with people. So far she's committed to that nest. So here shortly I will put I have this crate. I sat down on the floor, and it fills that gap right there. So I'll put it back here shortly, but that just gives her a buffer from these busy meat birds. so it's kind of interesting. We've never done anything like that. We've never tried to we've never tried to hatch any chicks out. So we're really excited about this. So it's fun to see her staying committed to that nest as these days are beginning, and by the time we get to the end of June, we'll know if it's a success or not. I hope it's a success. We know that the eggs are fertilized, and there's 6 different breeds, and I'll try to write those down and maybe be able to share that with you, hopefully, if we have success and we get chicks out of that. So that's interesting, but it gives her that purpose. She was wanting something to do, wanting to sit on eggs. So I hope it works out. So we'll just show you what the meat birds are doing here and wrap it up for today. So I've been actually to the poultry processor today and picked up poultry meat from the last flock. So I have some paperwork and communication work to do this afternoon, getting in touch with folks who enjoy our poultry, and we're really blessed to have a community of supporters who really enjoy and appreciate what we produce. So these birds are doing well, and pleased with how they're coming along. We haven't had a whole lot of mortality in this flock. I hope that continues. I don't have a separate runt pen, but I do want to show you we've separated some birds out, and just more or less they just kind of stay right here. So they were smaller, and you can see they're doing pretty well. They're all resting now. They were up a minute ago. I've got this one right there in the middle that's very small, but I'll tell you, that one was really, really weak. In fact, one of its legs was even like cold to the touch, and now it's been standing up, walking around. So getting it out of that large flock and giving it where it's got less competition has helped it. Actually had 2 additional birds out here that strengthened up and caught up in size, and we've returned them to the pen at large. So we'll upload another video come first of the week, and we'll see you back in the barn another time. Please do subscribe, and thank you so much for joining us at Twin Oaks Farm Poultry. We really appreciate your support.